Welcome to Imagine Wealth Without Risk, the podcast that guides you to fulfilling your dreams through guaranteed, secure investing. Here's your host, Ted Thomas.
Hi, everyone. This is Ted Thomas, and this podcast is titled Imagine Wealth Without Risk, and glad to have you there, and I'm here, and we have a great guest today, and so this will be a little fun. Some people have a lot of experience in real estate, and of the past 10 years, I think one of the most popular businesses has been what people call flippers. So if you're a real estate investor and you heard about flippers, I've got a former flipper on the telephone with us today. He's done very well for himself, and fortunately he and I met a few years back, and he decided to change a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of that today. But here's a guy that's real talent, and he's made a lot of money for himself, and he's had a chance to look at the markets and so on. His name is Paul Castillo, and he lives over in Salt Lake. And Paul, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Ted, I can.
I want to talk about tax lien certificates and tax deeds because that's pretty much the title of my podcast. And what I've done in the past is I've told people I like to make money in a lot of different ways, but my favorite is tax liens and deeds. But let's find out a little bit about you so that you can tell the audience about yourself. And I know you come from a strong family, because I met your mother and I met your sister and I met lots of your relatives. So let's start out talking a little bit about your family, because I know you have a happy one and you're a great dad. I bet your daughters love you. You take them all over the country. They did more traveling by the time they were 18 than I did by the time I was 28. So I'm sure you're the great dad that everybody wishes they had. So tell us a little bit about all that.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. So I'm 42 years old, and as you just acknowledged, I've got two daughters. I've got Alex, who's going to be 21 this year, and then I've got Savannah, who's 13. And the reason for the big spread is we had a lot of miscarriages in between the two. So Savannah was a real blessing.
Sorry.
Real blessing when she came along. And
nice.
Without a doubt, that's the most important role in my life, is being a father to these two beautiful girls. And it's the reason why I do everything I do. And as you mentioned, I love taking them on trips and just being a very important part of their lives. And
now, you don't just do a trip around the state. You really travel. Tell us a little bit about that.
Over the last few years, I've been really fortunate, and a lot of that's due to the success I've had using your program. So I really want to thank you for that. But
thank you.
For me, where I'm divorced, I'm a single father. It's always been important for me to be able to spend some quality time with my children. And so twice a year, I love taking them on a nice vacation. The first is going to be spring break. They work hard during the year. I really write them during the school year to make sure that they're taking care of their responsibilities.
Good.
And so I think it's really nice for them to have a little bit of breathing room, little break from the school year. And so spring break, I like to just take them somewhere far away where they can just unwind and enjoy life and visit new places and have some cool experiences. And then the second time is during their summer break. And over the last few years, because of the extra income that I've generated using your program, our trips have evolved from just having to stay somewhere local in our little region of the country to being able to go to places like I've taken them to the Bahamas, I've taken them to Mexico, we've taken trips to the East Coast, Orlando, to Disney World. We've gone on a 10-day trip to the East Coast where I've been able to take them through, I guess you could say, a historical trip to Washington, D.C., to Gettysburg, to New York City, Boston, the Trail of Tears. Really just done it all. It's been really fun.
Wow. Gee, that's fantastic. Now, I know you speak Spanish. Now, are these young ladies learning Spanish too?
I haven't done as good of a job there as I wish I would have. And my Spanish is broken as well, because they say you don't use it, you lose it. I grew up bilingual, but when I moved from California to Utah at the age of 10 or 11, we were one of the only minorities here in Utah at that time.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So didn't really. Yeah. Man, it's a different story now. The minorities have taken over the state of Utah. But
is that right? So complete change. So now we know who to blame. Okay.
It's different. I guess we open the floodgates. But no, they don't speak Spanish as well as I wish they did.
Keep encouraging them, and they'll all of a sudden they'll want to speak Spanish. You wait. That's what'll happen.
Yeah.
If they find some of those tall, dark, and handsome Spanish speaking, that'll change them quickly. I'm sure.
There you go.
Yeah, so you made these wonderful trips, and how'd you find time to do all this? I know every time I talk to you, you're always diligently working. How do you find time to do all these trips?
Fortunately, everything that I do, see, I'm one of those guys that lost everything during the recession, the Great Recession back in 2008, 2009.
Ooh. Oh.
So just to give you a little background, I've been self-employed since I've been fortunate to be self-employed since I was 19, 20 years old. And that sounds great to a lot of people, but as you said, because you're an entrepreneur, that comes with its ups and downs.
Right.
And so I started a business in 2003. I moved from Utah to Idaho to start this business consulting business.
Yeah.
And it did really well for 5 or 6 years, but then during the Great Recession, I lost everything. I literally mean everything.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, to the point where I had to move in with a relative.
Oh my goodness, that was a come down, wasn't it?
It really was. I lived in a 5,500 square foot home with the pool, all the toys that you can imagine, 4 or 5 car garage, and took all kinds of trips. But while I did well, I was in the situation where the business was more in control of me than I was in control of it. And so in a way, it was a real blessing, because when I lost everything during those years, it gave me an opportunity to reflect and just think long and hard about what I'd been through and where I wanted to go from there. And that was when I decided that real estate was the right vehicle for me to go into. And so this was in 2000.
That was painful, huh? That was quite a trip from 5,500 to, I don't know if it was a basement or not, but to a relative's bedroom. That was probably difficult, yeah.
And the worst part is my sister that I moved in with, she already had 3 children, 2 of which were already sharing a bedroom, and then the third was her daughter, who had just a small little bedroom with the princess wallpaper, and that was my bedroom that I moved into. So it was a it was a really humbling experience, to say the least.
Oh, wow! That's so you know what it is to claw your way back up, then, don't you?
Oh yeah. But you know what they say, it is what you make of it. And so rather than sit and complain and moan and do nothing about my situation, I just thought, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to never find myself in that. Because, see, I only had one source of income at the time. And so when that business crashed, that was everything that I had, and I couldn't sustain it. And the business that I was running, I realized after this happened that it was very vulnerable to the economy. And so I recall spending some time and writing things down on a piece of paper, making a list of what I had learned, what I don't want to go through again, what was important for me moving forward. And a few of the things that I remember writing down was, number one, I wanted to find something that was recession-proof, that would work in a good economy, bad economy, good real estate market, bad real estate market, you name it. I also wanted something where I didn't ever have to deal with employees again and be reliable on other people. I wanted something where I wasn't going to be a slave to my business like I was with that business for the previous 5 or 6 years. And I wanted something that would provide me with a lot of flexibility, something that I could do from anywhere in the world. And those are just a few of the things that I had written down. And I decided real estate was the right vehicle for me to go into.
That was a big change, wasn't it? From consulting to hands-on real estate, so to speak, huh?
Yeah, that's right. I always knew that I wanted to get involved into real estate. It's one of those things where until you really have to, or your back's up against the wall, you just put it off. And that's why I say that losing everything in 2008, 2009 turned out to be a real blessing in many ways.
Wow. You have such a good attitude. Your attitude is you're a survivor. You'll continue to be successful no matter what happens with the world around you. You're going to recreate yourself. That's really a good attitude. Yeah, nice to hear people talk like that. A lot of pessimism out there. It's good for me to hear someone like you talk like that. So that's good. So did you start transitioning right away, or did you study, or what did you do?
So I started studying and went to different events, seminars, you name it. Got my hands on whatever books I could find. Searched the web just to try and, you got to start somewhere, right? I had zero experience in real estate whatsoever. But I had also read about how real estate was a vehicle that was used by the vast majority of the most wealthy or successful people, not only in this country, but around the world. And so obviously I knew that, okay, there's a reason behind that. When I first got started, I was still working, doing other projects to keep the lights on, so to speak. And I knew that real estate, other people may want to tell you otherwise, but I knew that it wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme, and so I knew it was something that I was going to have to be patient with and be realistic.
Yeah.
Initially, what I
So
decided to...
I was just going to say, you weren't just looking for income. You were looking for long-term wealth. You could have real wealth that way. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Correct. And so I had a friend at the time that had a little bit of experience in real estate, and so I decided to partner up with him. And he convinced me that based on what had happened over the last few years and based on where the economy was at, he convinced me that there was a huge need for an alternative investing product for people that had just lost their shirts, lost a good portion of their wealth in their IRAs, in the stock market, you name it. And they were looking, there was a huge need in the market for an alternative, like a safer investment type product for people that were just scared to death of the stock market. You remember the market went down like what, 60, 70% at that time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The federal government had to step in and put money in, otherwise the whole thing would have collapsed.
Yeah, that's right. Those bail-ins or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
And so my first foray was it was essentially just flipping, but with a little different twist. And so at this time, the banks had a record number of properties on their books due to all the foreclosures, right?
Millions of houses. Yeah.
And as you said, the banks are not in the business of owning property.
Right.
And so they just wanted to get rid of them. And at this time, this was 2011-ish, like 2010, 2011-ish. You could literally, in certain markets, you could pick up properties from the banks for as little as 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 grand.
Gee whiz.
Yeah. And so we saw an opportunity there. Again, didn't really know what I was doing, but at least theoretically, it made sense. And with somewhat of an entrepreneurial background or mindset, and then having a business partner that had a little bit of experience, we decided that we would start buying these banks or these properties from the banks. And then we would send a rehabber in there to fix it up. Nothing too extravagant, but nothing lipstick either. We definitely felt that people deserve a good place, good livable place that they could call home. And so we would buy the property from the banks and then fix them up, make sure that they were in good livable condition, at which point we would put a property manager in place and then put a screened tenant in place that would sign on. We would like to get at least more often than not, a 2-year lease. And so once the property was cash flowing, then we would turn around and then we would target investors who wanted to use their IRAs, for example, to find a more secure investment than what they were getting in the stock market. So that was our little niche there. And over those 3 years, we probably flipped around somewhere between 15 to 20 homes doing that.
Good for you. You had to learn a lot. You had to learn how to do leasing. You had to learn how to hire property managers. You had to learn fixer-upper. I bet that was something, huh? Fixing property up.
Yeah. And we were also doing this remotely. So the market that we chose to invest in was Indianapolis, and here I am in Utah. My partner was down in Texas. And so over those 3 years, we might have taken a couple trips to Indianapolis, but for the most part, we were doing this remotely.
Oh, boy. Wow. Fortunately, you found a lot of people there that could work with their hands and fix them up. Some markets you can't find the fixer-upper people, I understand.
We had to go through a few. We had to go through a few and definitely made some mistakes and things the hard way.
Oh, I think I've learned that lesson more than once. I don't know why, but I like to buy them now and sell them. Just buy them and sell them. For me, that's a better business. Sometimes you just have to fix them up, but I get it. Okay. All right. So you got a lot of experience in this. What was that? 2 or 3 years of that? Is that what you did? How long did that take?
Yeah, it was about 3 years that we did that. And made some money, but I also realized after 3 years of doing that, the headaches that came with it, I realized that it wasn't the right, not real estate, just that particular model that we were using wasn't the right long-term solution. And so that's when I started seeking out other solutions, just looking for a better way.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered you and your program.
Well, that was good. That was like a bolt of lightning or something. Oh my God, this is impossible. That's what people say, but I hear them say it all the time. It's too good to be true. Yeah. And so then what did you do?
So what happened is you weren't even aware of this, Ted, because when we first met, I don't think you even knew that I had a little bit of a background in real estate and flipping homes.
No, I never imagined such a thing.
Okay.
No, 90% of the people that did the business that you introduced to me, they don't know a roof from a driveway. I mean, they don't have any experience, let alone fix it up. Or they know the word because everybody, for some reason, that word flipper caught on to a lot of people. I guess the newspapers and the TV people like that flipper, and I see them doing it on television. And those guys, I try to tell people now, don't watch, whatever you do, don't watch those television shows because you're going to go broke. There's no way you can fix a property like they do for what they say. It's impossible. But those shows keep going on. So the flippers just came out of nowhere. What was that? And suddenly everybody was talking about flippers, and here you were doing it, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, you weren't aware of that. If you recall, you and I were introduced to each other by a mutual colleague. And at the time, you were looking for a consultant, somebody that could join your team to fill a specific role. And due to my background in business consulting, that seemed to be a natural fit. And so here I am, you and I are talking about working together for a very different reason. And I really didn't know anything about. I'd heard the term tax lien, tax deeds. I'd heard a little bit about it, but didn't really know much. And so when I started learning more about it after we were introduced, it really intrigued me. And here I am starting to get exposed to your product, hearing about students of yours and how well they'd been doing, the kind of success that they had. And as I learned more about it, the light bulbs just started going off, and I felt, wow, sometimes things happen for a reason. And here's the solution that I've been looking for all along.
Yeah. Now, you had a little experience, so I'm sure that a podcast like this, people listening to, and there's a ton of people that fix up properties, and there's a ton of flippers. But, of course, all those great deals of getting them for 10 cents on the dollar disappeared because everybody went in that business at the same time. Although I heard someone was on television just a weekend or two back talking about flippers still. So I guess there's still some of those out there. But I don't think people are buying them for 10 and 20 cents on the dollar anymore, anything like that. They're probably paying a lot more. But so how long did it take you to learn how to do it?
How to do, are you saying flipping or how to do?
No, I figured you just learn. You never stop learning in the flipper business because that every house is different. But I figured the tax lien business must take some time to learn. So I was wondering how long you had a little experience. A flipper could get in this business relatively quickly, couldn't they?
Yeah, the most important thing is to decide how they're going to approach it, right? So I'll tell you from my experience that when I first learned about this, having 3 years of experience flipping, I'll be the first to admit that I was a little arrogant. And I heard about this. I saw what other students were doing with it, and I thought, how hard can this be? And so the first thing I did is I knew I wanted to get involved right away, and by nature, I'm a little aggressive when it comes to business in general. And so I didn't want to waste any time. And so the first thing I did, Ted, is I bought 6 tax lien certificates over the counter in Nebraska. Not because I was really interested.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. You got to back up a little bit. What's over the counter? What does that mean?
So over the counter means that the certificates were auctioned off at an auction held by the county, but they didn't sell. And then whatever's left over, so whatever doesn't sell at that auction, then the county has to decide what they're going to do with them. And depending on the state, some counties will offer them what's called over the counter, meaning you can call them, get a list, and just buy it any day that you want.
Really?
While others won't do that, right? And so you have to find specific states that offer over the counter. That's what I did, and that's why I bought 6 states or 6 liens specifically in Nebraska.
This is funny. The world wouldn't know this, but the first place I ever bought was Nebraska.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in Douglas County, which I believe is Omaha.
That's where I bought mine. Yeah, Douglas County.
Yeah, Omaha. Yeah,
that's right.
They had They had a tax collector. They got old there, and he didn't sell the properties, and they ended up, the county owned 3,000 properties there for a while. And then they brought a guy in to sell them, and I met him, and I ultimately ended up employing him. But in those days, we used to buy with direct mail. But this is about you, so let's talk about. So you bought these 6 tax lien certificates. They pay pretty good in Nebraska. Was it 10% or something like that?
So Nebraska's 14%.
Whoa,
and
14. That's good.
Yeah, 14%. Yeah. And so one of the things that's been important to me is that I don't want to be traveling all over the country, spending time away from my daughters, or spending a bunch of money on flights, hotels, travel expenses, not knowing, you never know if you're going to get anything or not, because it's an auction-based business. So in the beginning, I knew that tax deeds is what I wanted to go after. But because I knew that I was going to need to spend a little bit of time determining which markets I was going to invest in and getting all my ducks in a row, I also didn't want to let a week become a month, become a year type of a thing. So I wanted to just get in, and that's why I bought 6 tax lien certificates. So I had that feeling, that sense of, okay, you've done your first deal, and then I could build momentum off of that. And I remember calling the county, verifying that they did offer over the counter. They told me they'd be happy to send me a list. So I looked through the list. I sent it right back in the mail with a check along with the ones that I wanted. I believe it was about 8 of them that I wanted, and then 6 of them were awarded to me. And
wow.
And then I remember about 2 weeks later going to the mailbox and getting that first check in the mail.
Wow, that was making you feel really good. Now you had a business you could do from home.
Yeah, I already knew that it worked, but it's just taking it to a whole nother level when you actually go to your mailbox and see that check come right from the government. It just gives you a whole nother level of conviction. So it was it was bittersweet, because it was nice to get the check, but it was also a little disappointing to see it redeemed so quickly, because I wound up making pennies on that particular investment.
Yeah. Whereas if you held it for a longer time, you would have made more money.
Correct. Yeah. But again, for me, it was always about the deeds. And so it wasn't too big of a disappointment. It was just, again, realizing it gave me that much more conviction that, yes, the deeds is where the real money is.
Yeah, you were satisfying yourself that you could do it. It was no longer a question mark at that point.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you feel it's like the first time you drive the car by yourself. There's nobody over there growling at you. Be careful, put the blinker light on, blah, blah, blah. You say, I do that all by myself. Nice. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And so then what happened? What happened after all that?
So what happened is, in the meantime, I'm deciding where I'm going to be investing in deeds. And the state that I decided to start with was Washington.
Really?
So
Washington.
Simply because, again, I knew that I wanted to do deeds. I also knew that I wanted to find states that offered bidding online, where I could do it from my home and not spend time away from my children. I also decided, and I could have picked a number of different states that fit that criteria, but then Washington, because it's on the West Coast, closer to where I live here in Utah, I just felt like that was, and the timing of it. So this was getting later in the year, in 2015, and many of the states, as this is governed at a state level, and so some states will do auctions once a month, as much as once a month. Other states will do it as little as once a year. And so based on the time of year that it was, knowing that there was a few auctions coming up in the state of Washington within the next couple of months, and that would give me enough time to prepare for the auction, Washington was the state that I started in based on a process of elimination. So
did you pick rural counties, or did you pick high population areas? What did you do?
I actually decided that I wanted to start in a rural county, just because in my mind I felt that I would deal with less competition. Now, I found that several years later, I found that isn't always necessarily the case, but that was my thinking back then, is avoid somewhere like Seattle where every Tom, Dick, and Harry is wanting to invest, and maybe pick a thriving market like that, and maybe pick some rural counties a little bit further out that are not as well known, and maybe there's not going to be as much competition.
I see. Okay, good. And that was successful, or did you do those online, or did you go there, or what did you do?
Hi everyone. Want to find out if Paul's deal turned out successful? Tune in next week for part 2 with Paul Castillo. On next week's episode, Paul will continue to talk about the deals he's made, tips to be successful in investing in tax-defaulted properties, and how he did all of this online from home.
Thank you for joining us today. Go to tedthomas.com to learn how you can start making smart, secure investments today. Be sure to check out the rest of the episodes to find out more about Imagine Wealth without risk.